Hey, welcome back to Beyond the Ring Short Stories. 30 short stories in 30 days, Paris 24 Outreach. My name is Jeff Wells. I have the great privilege of being the founder of Beyond the Rings and being used by God to take the gospel around the world, literally. 11 Olympics, 5 continents, one message. The message is Jesus loves, Jesus saves. And maybe that's 2 messages. Because Jesus loved, Jesus saves. How's that? So we're back again today with another short story from our recent outreach during the Paris 2024 Olympic outreach, Olympic Games. I want to talk to you today about athletes. Recently, I've been getting a lot of requests. Hey, what was Paris like? What's Paris like? We've got a big celebration service coming up. Share a little bit about that before we get off this podcast. But it's so hard to give a short, succinct answer to that question because it was all kinds of things. It was incredible. It was exciting. It was historical. It was inspirational. It was exhausting. It was all that. And so, in the conversation I had yesterday, somebody asked me something that had not been asked in a while, and that is, did you meet any athletes? And it got me thinking of the few athletes that we did meet during the Paris 2024 outreach. So, here's one of them. If you're watching me on YouTube, you will see the picture on the screen above my head. And it's a picture of me and the Beyond the Rings team members, Brandon Long and Destiny Killian. And we are with a young man and an older man. This picture was taken in the Carousel DeVille, not DeVille, Carousel, not saying it right. Anyway, we shortened it to the Carousel because it's essentially the mall underneath the Louvre. It actually connects to the Louvre and it's underneath, and it's like most any other mall you'd find in America or anywhere else around the world. In fact, it's a Westfield Mall brand. And yes, there was a McDonald's here. I think I may have shared that with you with another episode. So yes, I ate at McDonald's in France. And yes, not only did I eat it in France, I ate it in Paris in a McDonald's located in the mall under the Louvre. That's as cultural clashing as I can say in one sentence. So anyway, we were on our way to said McDonald's, and we ran across this older gentleman standing there by himself. And he had, I can't remember what his hat says, but it looked American to me, like an American flag. It has some writing on it, but I don't know what it says. And he's just standing there by himself. And I'm like, oh, American? And he said yes, um, and began to, and then we started talking, where you're from. And he's from like Wisconsin or Ohio, north of us in Missouri. And the more he talked, he had a really heavy, turned out to be Polish accent. I found out later, and he migrated to America when he was younger. And he was explaining to me, "Yes, I'm American. I'm just waiting for my son." Like, oh, go Team USA. He goes, "Yeah." His name is Judah, and he won gold. I'm like, "Whoa, wait, not gold. He won a medal." I'm like, "Whoa, wait, your son is a judo Olympian and he won medal?" Like, no, 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 no. He's in the store right there, and there was a Swatch watch store right there, and he was in there. And he goes, no, he was part of the Team USA that won bronze in gymnastics. Really? And so we were just blown away. He was very polite, very kind, older gentleman. And we stood there for a few minutes talking, and he shared about how excited we asked him, it must be amazing to be the parent of an Olympic athlete, not only to have gotten here, but to excel and to medal. In fact, I was reading it was the first time men's Team USA men's gymnastics had won a medal in like 16. It was a long time. And son was a part of it. I guess maybe Michigan. And so uh, So we stood there just talking and chatting, and he said he'll be right out. And so it was taking a while. So we went ahead and shared the gospel with him. Down the rings, there's 24 gospel pen. And he was so excited to hear the story. He himself claimed faith in Christ, but was concerned about his son, who grew up knowing and going to church, but not really embracing it in the time in his life. Apparently, this gentleman and his wife had been divorced for some time, and his ex-wife and husband live out in LA, and apparently he's pretty fluent and concerned about how that is influencing his son. And so we didn't know if he'd be much longer, so we're like, well, can we just give a pin to you to share with him? No, 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 just wait. He'll be out. He wanted us to wait and have that conversation. So sure enough, not that much longer, Paul comes out from the watch store, very polite, very gracious young man, very athletic. I don't know if you know this about gymnasts, um, but especially then was wide chested. I mean, wide, just massive down to a point. His wide chest, narrow waist down to his. It was an amazing thing to see. Is just his normal everyday physique, but very polite. His father introduced himself, introduced him to us. We fanned on him as you should. Again, one of the things to remember, and Brandon shared another episode, another podcast, is we have to remember whether they're athletes, politicians, actors, musicians, whatever makes them quote unquote famous. And it is, it's a thing. Fame is a thing. You get on people's radar for one reason or another. But at the end of the day, we are all human beings in need of love, acceptance, purpose, meaning. All that is the same for all of us, regardless of what we've accomplished or the incredibly challenging work. We're all human beings. And so I found over the years that while I will have my moments of fandom when I'm kind of oohing and awing over meeting somebody, I certainly have had those, that if you can keep that to a minimum, focus on the person in front of you as a person, they relish that. That's helpful for them and can be a really, really good encounter. I'll share a non Olympic example of that. Back in the late 90s, I was pastor at a church in St. Louis County, and the pastor would take Fridays off. So Friday was my day to be in the office. It was just me and the church secretary. She gets a phone call and she puts the phone on my office. All the offices kind of just on the perimeter of the office where the secretary. She's like, Jeff, I think you're going to want to take this call. I'm like, okay, why? She goes, he says he's the chaplain with the New Orleans Saints. I'm like, okay, I'll take this call. And so I pick up the phone. The chaplain introduces himself. I can't remember his name off my head. And in very quick order, he's like, look, normally I travel with the team, do chapel for them, the Protestant chapel, the Catholic priest that travels, who does the Catholic chapel. I'm just looking for somebody to know, somebody that I could ask to chaplain the chapel service, Protestant chapel service for the New Orleans Saints when town this week, Rams. And, in joking fashion, I'm like, yeah, let me pray about it. Yes. But in all seriousness, I said, I would love the opportunity. Let me touch base with my pastor. Let me pray about it. Let me get back to you. Can I call you back in an hour? That'd be great. And so, did all that. Now the phone prayed. Oh, yeah, that's a great opportunity. Talked to the pastor. Great opportunity. Called him back. Got it set up. Got all the arrangements. Figured out where I needed to. And it was so funny. He's like, um, and this will really show you how old I am. were watching this day. There was no internet, or it was very, very young. I'll say there was internet, very, very. But in his time of need, he didn't Google Protestant churches and called information, which was the number you used to be able to call, and you would say, I need the number of XYZ company in Pittsburgh. Look it up, and they would number. For an extra fee, would connect you to. So he literally called information from the St. Louis area and asked for the First Baptist Church listed. Since we were First Baptist of Affton, Affton, the top of the list. That's how God's providence, God's design, God's plan worked out for me to be able to do chapel service for the New Orleans. Well, here's the point of that. Sunday rolls around. I'm dressed like a pastor, a suit on. I'm going to go talk to a bunch of athletes. It's the 90s. Nobody knows who the Saints are except for my Aunt Mary, who's Saints. She grew up in New Orleans. But most people didn't know. I didn't know who they were. There were two things I knew about the Saints that year. One, Mike Ditka was the coach, new head coach for the New Orleans Saints, and this was his second game, first one on the road. I knew Mike Ditka that year. And the only other thing I knew, just no, I didn't know that at that time. All I knew going in was Mike Ditka. And so I arrive at the hotel where the team is staying, and I get off the elevator on conference level where all the meeting. This young man is walking down the hall, shorts, t-shirts, flip-flops, and carrying a student NIV student. And he looks at me, and goes, "Are you the pastor?" Like, yeah. He introduced himself, Danny. Hey, I'm Jeff. Took me to the room. As soon as we walked in the room, there were already some players there. Introduces me to them again. They're professional National Football League players, but I don't know because I don't follow college ball. Don't follow the. And so he introduces me to everybody. I'm perfectly fine because I'm not freaking out because I don't know any of these guys. So I'm not a fan of any of them until Mike Ditka walked. Mike Ditka had just come from the Catholic chapel service over to the Protestant, comes directly up to me, takes his hand, says, "Reverend, we're honored to have you with us today. Looking forward you have. Pleasure to meet you, Miss." And he sits down. And I proceed to share the devotion, which was about Paul's conversion, new beginnings. It was apropos for the saints, new coach, and all that kind of stuff. Prayed for him. And then the team heads out, and I stand around talking to the travel coordinator, had my complimentary nosebleed tickets for the game that day, and a little bit of cash gratitude. Well, Danny's hanging around, and he's like, "Hey, you want to eat breakfast with us?" I'm like, sure. So Danny takes me down the hall, and we enter the conference room where they got the spread set up, and it is meats beyond imagination for breakfast. Anything you could ever think, they got it. Um, and I, I had the timing out of order. I didn't see Danny there. The travel coordinator took that room was already in, and so I entered the room, and I'm at the back of the line. I've been spending time with this guy, but Danny's right up near the front. He sees me come in, and he goes, "Hey, Jeff, come on up here with me." I'm like, "No, I'm good back here behind all these big football players. I'm not cutting line for breakfast in front of these. No, no, come on. Okay, I'm with him. I'm with him. I'm with him. And I'm passing by all these huge football players, and so we get our breakfast. We sit there. We have. It was fun. It was great just talking. We talked a little bit about football. We talked a little bit about faith, about family. It was just wonderful time to hang out with some guys I'd never met before. So I get back to at that time we had a Sunday night. I came back that Sunday night and to start off the service, wanted to hear how everything I'm sharing about. And I say, and I met this young man. He was very polite. I don't know what position he plays. but he had an unusual last name. His first name was Danny. One of the one of the guys in the church goes, Danny Warfel? I'm like, yeah, that's it. He goes, Danny Warfel was the Heisman Trophy winner last year. I'm like, oh, he was just a polite young man. And so the point was, and then they're like, did you take a football from all design? Did you? I'm like, no, why not? That's not why I was there. I wasn't there as a fan. I was there as a pastor. I was there to minister to them, give to them, not take from them. And so sometimes we get in our mind that fame makes people different than us. It doesn't. Sometimes that fame goes to their heads and makes them think that but they're not. Whether a rich business person, a talented athlete, an author, an actor, a singer, a musician, a YouTube star, none of them make them different than us. We're all human beings made in the. So anyway, so um, in this encounter, like all the rest of them, I've got a couple more athletes I'm going to share. Just really try to approach them, respect them for the accomplishment of achieving, just being here as an Olympic athlete, competing well to their, and in Paul's case, guys on Team USA men's gymnastics for 2020, they secured bronze, and it was a wonderful accomplishment and a great thing to celebrate. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is we shared the totality of the gospel with Paul, with his dad, using the gospel. So many bring to reality. Their generous cost about $3, and it was used powerfully in this father's life and in this young Olympic medalist's life. And so, I guess that's my word for today. It is really cool. It is. It's very cool to be in Olympic host. I'm not going to try to pretend being in Paris for 19, 20 days wasn't amazing in and of itself. It was. Beautiful city, incredible architecture, rich culture, incredible people. The Olympics were going on. It hadn't happened in 100 years. I was there. We were there. Are you kidding me? It's incredible. But at the end of the day, the most important, most impactful thing, most meaningful thing, be engaged, not meeting Paul and his, much as we enjoyed it, and we did. It was having the gospel planting a seed, telling them about. So thanks for tuning in today for another Paris 24 Outreach, 30 short stories in 30 days. Let me remind you again, it's coming up soon, our Paris 24 Outreach celebration, happening on Sunday, September 29th, 3 p.m. at Concord Church here in the St. Louis area out on Tesson Ferry. We're going to be serving dessert and drinks as the ground team shares stories, pictures, pins, and video from our pin training evangelism outreach during the Paris Olympics. It's all free. You don't have to give anything. But just a heads up, we will use the conclusion of our celebration as a launching of the Italy 2026 outreach. And we will be taking a lot of offering during the celebration for that ministry and all the various needs arising forward. Next, the next summer games are in LA in 2028, but the next winter games, which are in fact the next Olympic games, are coming up in February of 2026 in Milan, Cortina, Italy. So that's it for today's Beyond the Rings short story. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again.